Good morning. There's a Highness's throne. How are we? Oh, look, kind of inadvertently, these glasses sort of match with my shirt. Oh, good morning, everyone. Olivia Pearl's World, Sky Elise, Della Nixon, Bethan Williams, Alice McMichael, Joanne Clements, Rona Morrison, Bethan Williams, Sally O'Sullivan, Katie Kay, Anna Wright, Meg Davis, Random Nothingness, Shara Louisa Hackett, Sky Elise. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Outlandish Creations. You're possibly on a bike cycling by the Thames now, or maybe I've got your day the wrong way round. Someone Somewhere. Morning, Mark. Morning. Andrea Crash. Morning back to Kiwi Land. Time for a Rhyme. Good morning. Hi, Sandy D. Sandy D. Sounds like someone from, what's the name of that song from Greece? It's Friday, and as I posted on my Instagram today, It's Friday used to be a very, very, very loaded term. It would be the first thing I'd think. Oh, John Cameron, welcome. It would be the first thing I think. It would be the first thing I'd say. It would be the refrain I'd use with friends and work colleagues, like it's self-explanatory that tonight is just gonna go batshit crazy. Cray cray in the bay, bray bray. Zoe, hello. Jean Tutel, that's a good surname. Hello. Laura Lawler, why is Harry isolating? Good question, you may well ask. Why is Prince Harry isolating? Why do you think Prince Harry might be self-isolating? See if we can get that. Andrea Crash, I thought you were getting your head shaved. No, I just thought I'd unleash the beast. You guys are still gonna want to see the chaos and carnage of what happened prior to it getting like this. Morning, Xander. Morning, Emma McGregor, Claire Smiley. Congratulations. Unleash the beast. Yeah, you're right. I think someone's kind of made the connection. Prince Philip obviously isn't very well. Now, they're not suggesting for a minute that he's at death's door or anything, but I think as a precaution, Prince Harry has gone into self-isolation with Meghan and Archie, and in the hope that hopefully, has that stopped buffering now? Hopefully in the hope that if, okay, let me just flick over to 4G, one sec. Better. How's that? Let me refresh on here. Oh, nice crystal clear advert, but is that better? Thank you very much, Gabrielle. Thank you, Miss Dunn. Is that better? I'm hoping so. Yeah, so he's I think as a precaution that, you know, he's obviously, if he needs to fly back, he's prepared to fly back on a private jet. He's apparently obviously worried about his granddad, and that's understandable. So, you know, Prince Philip has been kept in for a second night as a precaution. I mean, he's very elderly. There is that sense with him, as there used to be with my dear Nanny Thelma. If you go over to my Instagram account, you'll see a photograph of Nanny Thelma being very cross. It was fake cross, but it was cross. And you do, I think we do with our most elderly, and elderly, but also elderly, but who are also very present, if you know what I mean. You kind of do entertain the thought of immortality, don't you? Francesca de Imperio, it's her morning at Luce. So yeah, so Prince Harry's gone into self-isolation so that he can then potentially jump on a plane or private jet over to see Gramps. I'm hearing rumour today, I read somewhere that there's the possibility that America's going to be added to our red list. Is that correct? Has anyone else heard that? Is that likely? I mean, at the point where it feels like everyone's kind of wanting to kind of loosen things a bit, I think it struck me as quite surprising that there might be this tightening of connection of travel with America. Jane Oxley, the majority of people cannot be with their loved ones on their last days. No, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm kind of waiting for the moment where people say, "Oh, but how come he can?" It's just, I think we can either live sort of. I'm not suggesting this is what you're doing, by the way, Jane, at all. But I do think that the potential, look, he's royalty. Whether he wants to be or he doesn't want to be, he is the grandson of the Queen and her husband. So I think we just have to recognise there are different things. It's a bit like when Boris Johnson went into hospital and President Trump went in. They are the leaders of nations, and I kind of sit pretty with the fact that there are some exceptions to us all having the same experience, if you know what I mean. Not when it comes to what is there for everyone, but when you get to that sort of level, I do sometimes wonder whether we just have to kind of go, well, it's not surprising, is it? It's not surprising. Francesca D'Imperio. I hope I probably got it wrong now, haven't I? Anyone can travel out of anywhere, out of UK for a family emergency. Sam JP. We're rattling through our news stories today, aren't we? The NASA Perseverance now, I posted on my Insta stories last night as well. I was watching this happen and I couldn't get anyone excited. Well, to be fair, that's not true. Maddie and Kiki get very excited about these things because they're always excited about the prospect of there being life. We love science fiction films. I mean, sometimes, there have been times in this lockdown where we've all kind of thought the idea of being abducted by aliens would be kind of more enjoyable. And for me, you could say space, it's an irrelevancy, and Nadia was spitting feathers last night saying, how can we spend all this money on space travel when, there's so much, and you cannot argue, there's so much, iniquity on Earth, and you can't get JABS out to all the countries, so there's JABS for poor nations, and then there's a multi-billion-dollar Mars landing. You could argue it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. What do you think? Do you think it's an irrelevance? Do you think it's boys with their toys? I mean, at the heart of it, you could argue, is there an attempt by incredibly rich people to find a new planet to escape to in many, 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 many millennia? Greg Allen, and Texas has no power or water. The contrasts are stark. And it always comes up with me and Nads whenever I talk about this. I'm always fascinated, and Maddie's boyfriend, Patrick, I find it, for me, it's less about the technicalities of it. It's more about the fact that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There is a space program. And for me, it fires up my imagination. That's what it does for me. I find it something to be distracted by. Space exploration is important, says Aaron Bullimore. The resources of our planet are finite. At some point, we will need to mine other planets and moons and asteroids. I mean, there is going to be a future way beyond all of our strange little mutterings and meanderings. I do find space as well sort of makes you just sort of think, God, what am I? What are we? Not a lot. We're not a lot. So that when we all get irate and upset and offended and upset, you know what? We're a speck of dust. Mark Oakby, no landing on Mars, just a ploy, in my opinion. Oh, do you remember, anyone remember that film Capricorn 1 where they did a fake landing on Mars? That was so cool. I mean, I think they were trying to infer the whole, I don't want to get involved in the whole fake moon landings and all that kind of stuff, but I love all that stuff. Sander, let's find another planet to pillage and F it up. Apparently, they're going to be flying a helicopter, very light, small helicopter. It's going to be the first unmanned flight on another planet. You see, these kind of things are firsts. And then they started to ask the follow-up questions of NASA, why? And then literally, I was looking into what NASA was saying, and they kind of were saying, because we want to. And then someone had the purpose of mind to say, have you put a camera on it so we can get really good photos? And they kind of scratched their heads and said, oh yes, we'll get some photos. Anyway, so the machine, once it gets on space, it's going to drill into the various parts of the Martian substance, and drill. Then they're going to leave these tubes. Like, imagine loads of a packet of chalk. I used to eat chalk at school. Did anyone else? Bit of a distraction. Little packet of chalk left by rover, which looks like Wall-E. Got lots of references here. Do you remember the Pixar movie Wall-E with the little kind of creepy thing? Drill. Packet of chalk. Falls asleep. And then in another 4 years or something, they're going to fly something else. It's going to land. It's going to pick them up and bring them back. It does beg the question, why didn't this thing just bring them back? Anyway, there you go. So, that, you know, this is the mission to Mars. They want to see if there was any evidence of life there. Would you like there to be life on Mars? Or have been life on Mars? What's your take on this? I mean, I know it all seems irrelevant, doesn't it? It does seem a bit irrelevant. Oh, look, Life and Love and Journey ASMR. Welcome back. Welcome back. Would you like there to be life and love? Would you like there to be life on Mars? I think I would. We always assume it's going to be hostile, don't we? What if they were really good conversationalists? What if they were like, guys, you've got it all wrong. You're all working your asses off for the rich few of your planet. Come to Mars. Come to Mars. Let's hang out in this crater. We'll take you underground. There's all sorts of cool shit knocking about. You can have a far more meaningful life here. What do you reckon? What if aliens were much more fun than most other humans? Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Why do we always assume they want to attack us and eat us? Do you know what I mean? Or suck our brains out? Or attach chihuahuas' heads to our necks? Why? Why do we assume that? Mars has no pandemic. They've got it sorted up there. There's no, I mean, it's the ultimate planet for social distancing. Isn't it? Head up there, no one around you. I'm sure someone somewhere, Xander, has an image of Bernie Sanders sat in that crater. I bet they'll find Bernie Sanders up there. What they should have done more meaningfully up there, rather than flying a pointless little helicopter, is taken up an espresso coffee machine and try to find a plug point. Try and find a power system. Plug it in. I'm up there. Xander, I don't think there is one, and I think you are the man to create the first one. Get to it. We need the first Bernie Sanders on Mars meme now, and we'll all share it. Everyone agree to share it on Insta stories. Oh, Katie K, seen a Bernie meme on Mars already. Flipping it. There's someone somewhere. I was sat there just thinking, fucking hell, let's get this out sharpish. What's that? Mars. I think about Mars a lot. I do. It's like when they talk about taking people up and putting them in little capsules and leaving them on the planet to be the first civilization. They say, Nadia goes, oh, I wouldn't want to do that. She says it just like that. I'm like, I do. What does that say about our marriage? I'd rather be on Mars at minus 90 degrees at night, battered and buffeted by Martian wind, Martian sand in my toes. Why? Della Nixon, do a coffee moaning from Mars. Salsa Trish quite likes a marathon bar, a Snicker bar, or a Mars bar. Yeah, I mean, for a joke, send a Mars bar to Mars and just leave it there. Because the frozen atmosphere will just leave it there forever. I'm really excited because I don't know if you know, I was also reading on this sort of cosmic scale. Let's just think about this for a moment. The magnetic North Pole is shifting, moving. It moves all the time, every year. When we trekked to the North Pole or raced to the North Pole, we went to the magnetic and then we went a little bit further towards the geographic. But the geographic North Pole is right at the top of the Earth. It's uninhabitable. It's ungettable to. But it's shifting. It's coming down. And apparently, scientists reckon that sometime in the past, Neanderthal man was kind of almost made extinct or destroyed by a magnetic reversal of the planet. Imagine that. The magnetism of the planet shifted completely round. Didn't know you're up, didn't know your head from your bottom, you didn't know your ass from your elbow. It was like doing that. And so they all ran into caves, right? I'm going to now move back to the internet, guys. I take it personally when someone says your internet's shocking. Some days it's beautiful, some days it's bad. Is that better? I know, Jackie Valino, David Bowie's Mars. Oh, I love that. I love that song. Anyway, yeah, so, and they're saying we're long overdue a magnetic twist. It's like, what else can they trot out? If there's not a meteorite, the magnetism of the planet is gonna reverse. And suddenly everyone in Australia is gonna be in Croydon. I can tell. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna flip everything upside down. Everyone in LA is gonna be in Siberia. It's going to be a complete mental magnetic twist. Sometimes I just sort of think, there's something, did you know that if you were to travel in light years, something would happen to your body called spaghettification? I love this term. I was talking about it with Patrick in the summer in Cornwall. We sat over the dog Ace between our legs, me and Paddy, as I now call him affectionately in wannabe father-in-law mode. And we talked about what would happen to us physically if we travelled. Part 2 sober chat has happened, Heinz feet. Head over. I think it's called sober chat. It's happened, it's on the channel. Spaghettification would happen and your body would be spaghettified. You just... Anyway, I can tell I'm boring you all because you're all talking about crocodiles. That's really odd. So, Members Live is happening tonight. In more meaningful news, apart from Mars landings and Prince Harry self-isolating, JABS for poor nations. This is something that I'm very pleased about because this is something we were talking about a long time ago. I don't know if you remember. And this is Boris Johnson's commitment that once the majority or all of the British population is vaccinated, Britain will donate most of our surplus coronavirus vaccines to poorer nations once all of our citizens have been jabbed. So Johnson at a virtual G7 has given this assurance. And I think that's a good thing. I think he's leading by example. I think that's a very laudable and commendable and important part of our combat against the virus, because it needs to be a global push. And I hope that America and everywhere else, I mean, obviously America needs to get a grip on its own vaccination program. Does anyone know how the vaccination program's going in America? It's quite, the news I keep finding, it's quite patchy, isn't it? And obviously, I mean, it came up yesterday, the news about Facebook refusing to pay for Australian news. What do you think about that, guys? Do we have any Australians here? What do you think about that? Is that an overreach of a tech company's power? Or is it a principle that news should be free? Or, you know, how does that work? I mean, it's a funny one, actually, because I can't work out which side of the censorship happening right now. Is it censorship? I mean, the news is still happening. Married at First Sight. Oh my God, have you watched that? We are halfway through that, and it is an absolute case of total bedlam. We're loving it. Kerry Bedford, what do you talk about in Members Live? We just talk about really personal things like what Nadia's wearing as underwear. We give out cards, and we just have a more intimate chat where we really open up about our vulnerable bits. And we're just, you know, it's just really intimate. It's really nice. Ted Cruz headed to Mexico to avoid the snow. That's intriguing. A lot of censorship in universities. Laura Lawler, our vaccination was going great in Scotland, not according to some press, but for the next couple of weeks, first doses will be halved as Pfizer have slowed delivery. I watched The Dig, absolutely. Oh yes, check out our review of The Dig landed yesterday. Seems to be a lot of people liking that film. A lot of love for that film. A lot of love for digging. A lot of love for archaeology. I wanted to be an archaeologist. What did you all want to be when you were kids? What was your passion? What was your passionate dream job that you wanted to? I mean, I wanted to be three weird things: an archaeologist, an astronaut, and I wanted to be in the military. I wanted to be an officer. Yeah, I know it's Rafe, but you know, I just find Rafe is like the kind of what you'd call him if you were his mate. So I'll go for Ralph. An artist, a princess, total storm addict. Joanne Clements, an air hostess. That's cool. Musical performer, Skylease. Nursery nurse. I wanted to be a vet, Sarah Begley. Egyptology, Brenda McGee. Isn't it weird? I always feel like I've visited the pyramids. I mean, I've been very lucky to travel to virtually every country in the world, but I haven't visited the pyramids. Andrew Crash, I'm still deciding what I want to be when I grow up. Oh, good for you. Police officer, Brenda Tyrrell. I toyed with that at one point. There was obviously something about, not the uniforms, maybe, I don't know, something about solving things there. Singer, Sue Gilbert. Gabrielle Rich. Sarah Robertson, customs and excise officer or police. Wow, really? That's quite specific, isn't it? Paula, another aging art student, a Red Arrows pilot. Wow. Yeah, my nan and granddad always took me to kind of flight display. Well, my granddad did, to flight displays, and he'd point out the Hurricane bombers and the Spitfires and the Red Arrows. That is funny, isn't it? That sort of granddad knowledge. Thank God for my granddad. I mean, I can sort of recognise birds, certain flowers and plants, not a lot, as you probably tell from Green-Fingered Hill. Forensic scientist, who said that? Nessie Jeff. Helen Groves, forensic scientist. Chef in the Navy, Amanda Hawkins. Laura May, nurse, but I have a blood phobia. Julie Everett's a florist. Total storm addict, none have said politician. Yeah, true. I think politician, I mean, I've always been drawn to politics, but I've also kind of, what's always put me off is the need by the world of politics for you to have to nail your colours to a party political mast. Do you know what I mean? So in a sense, what you're saying is, I'm going to be rigid in my thinking. And for me, the best politician or the best type of politics is a willingness to be flexible. I don't know, in ideology as much as anything else. Good Ship Lollipop, I wanted to be a tattoo artist really young, grew up to be one. Oh, that's cool. It's incredibly creative. I've done a lot of films over the years with various tattoo artists. I've followed the Lucasfilms tattoo artist in San Francisco. It's remarkable. Remarkably talented skill. Crime writer, Sil Carney, at uni studying it. Good one. Go for it. Nikki Thompson, I was told by many people I had a good voice to be a singer but lacked confidence. Policeman, now employment consultant, Mark Oakerby. Leslie Mettam, I love your chair. Yeah, Lisa made that. You know, lovely Lisa. Forensic scientist. Wonder Woman, did you want to be more of a writer? I went into the industry as an editor, and I've always believed that editing, in the truest sense of the term, is the key to all creativity. You know, even painting, it's about knowing what to leave in, knowing what to take out. For me, writing came early because I was a journalist for the Evening Standard's TV channel for years. They had a cable channel. It was way ahead of its time, really, something called Channel 1. And so, you know, that kind of writing for telly is a very different thing to writing. I love writing. I mean, obviously, when we wrote the book, I love writing. And like the short film that is about to come, that was finished, I won't even go into the bloody hellhole of that. But that, I feel, is one of my most successfully written short pieces in terms of fiction or creative writing. And I can't separate the two. For me, it's kind of world creation. And sometimes that leans towards writing, sometimes it leans towards direction. Check out our Confessions of a Modern Parent today, actually. It's all about ambition. And I think it's really, we talk about the idea that having ambition, sometimes it's about realizing all your ambitions, and sometimes it's about the fool's gold of certain targets that you think you want. Because, you know, it's that classic thing, isn't there, of certain people who are very good at certain things always want to be something else. Do you know what I mean? But I think I do like, and then there's direction of fiction, and then there's direction of documentary. And documentary direction is a very odd thing, because you think, well, where do you direct? But in a sense, you're nurturing reality. but you're trying to nurture it in a way that's not too manipulative. I think a lot of programming is manipulative, and I've made programs where you're trying to, like holiday swaps, for example, we were talking about it yesterday. You know, you were creating the reason they're called reality show, you know, you're trying to create a sort of intense reality that's kind of manufactured somewhat so that you get drama. And the budgets and the schedules of TV's companies now don't allow for the amount of time you need sometimes to find naturally occurring drama. You know, which is why, you know, interestingly, when I look back, things like, you know, remember the Osbournes? I mean, that was it was just insane chaos, wasn't it? I mean, it was great because it's a bit like sometimes with us here, it's just total carnage because the personalities are so stupid and bonkers and loud. But you've got to be embedded with your subject for quite a while. So there's different types of even direction, you know. Patrick Salt, WandaVision, looking forward to the next episode of WandaVision. You know, and we talk about, in Confessions of a Modern Parent, we also talk about how for some people, you know, the many stories of people who realised the ambition they'd always had, and what was that? I watched Nadia in a small part of Behind Her Eyes. What's Behind Her Eyes on Netflix last night? Charlie. What was I saying? Sorry, I was completely thrown by that. Behind it, because I saw that on Netflix. What is it? What is behind your eyes? Love what they did with the Halloween costumes. I know, wasn't it good on WandaVision? The Cecil Hotel is ace. My dad is 72 and he knows everything. Oh, that's nice. Nicola S, love the Osbournes. Yet Maddie keeps delivering Osbourne clips for the memes, which is very, very funny. Oh yeah. There are many situations where you know, where people you know, people can realize their ambition, and then they realize that their ambition wasn't the thing that they wanted. You know, once they get there, if you get to your destination, and very few people do, is it sometimes more about the journey or the dream? Thank you, Wonder Woman, that's what it was about. Is it more about the journey and the dream and the ambition and the getting there, rather than the, you know, the process of getting there, rather than the destination? Because for some situations, you can get to the destination and it can really be a fool's gold, and it's not quite what you wanted it to be. So yeah. Julie Everett's loving the memes from Maddie. I know she's really, really nailing those memes, aren't they? They've become a really much needed sort of release valve, in a sense, for humour and silliness. Rachel Vincent, didn't the dogs used to poo all over the house in the Osbournes? Yeah, that's why when Toffee did one in the middle of our carpet, it felt very Osbourne-y as we went into total chaos. Skylease, Maddie has taken the memes to the next level each week. She is, isn't she? In our No Name Sunday show, Maddie does almost a 20-minute, 25-minute sort of trawl through. There's almost a show in that, isn't there? There's a weekly YouTube show of the best memes of the week. Do you remember there used to be things like Games Master, all about computer games, or clip? I mean, you know, you get Who's Been Framed, but, you know, memes of the week. No one's doing it. Karen Bennett, Osborne's house was disorganised. Sounds like us. No, Toffee isn't still doing that. Toffee's very happily not doing that. Maddie recorded a new song yesterday. It was so exciting. It literally blew me and Nadia away. Maddie and Kiki, they're good. They're getting on with it. They're just knuckling down. Lots of learning, lots of homeschooling, lots of constantly looking for courses that are coming back online and looking towards what can happen, and booking gigs, and producers talking about this gig and that gig, and then wondering when it's going to happen. We're just waiting for clearance and guidance, aren't we? It's like Maddie said in her post today. People say, what are your plans? It's like a lot of people's plans are on hold. Stop asking people what are their plans. I think everyone needs to stop asking other people what are your plans, especially young adults. What are your plans? Don't know, what are your plans? It's like, we don't know. Let's wait until we come out of this bloody nightmare, and then we'll give you our plans. I love it in the film, the Two Popes film, when he says it's about the journey. Yes, we never got to see that. That was the Anthony Hopkins, God, what's the name of the other actor? I forget his name. Make plans, God laughs. Gigi Bissett. Poor performers are massively in limbo at the minute. You're so right. Wonder Woman, it's not that adults can be so nosy, it's just that adults don't have much, not all adults obviously, but a lot of adults don't have a lot of imagination when talking to young adults or teenagers. They just want to go, where are you going to college? What are you doing your courses? Actually, these kids are plugged into things in a much bigger and more meaningful way. It was so nice when Kiki was just talking to her school about going there and da-da-da-da. They were talking about politics, they were talking about inspiration, they were talking about creative dreams and ambitions and what art was stimulating. Not what courses are you doing and when are you... We'll say to the girls, just ask them back, what was the last film you saw? What was the last book you read? What's firing you up in the news? Do you know what I mean? Push it back. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, guys, if you're enjoying our natter. Hit the thumbs up. I was trying to find a silly news quiz. So in terms of the news, let's have a look at the news. So yeah, so UK, I think that's really good news that Boris Johnson has said he's going to commit any surplus vaccines to the poorer nations. Kind of a good sign is large number of contact tracers to be sacked as the Prime Minister prepares to announce loosening of lockdown. Obviously not so much of a need for them. Evidence, quelle surprise, evidence beginning to be revealed that COVID-19 was spreading in China before the first confirmed cases. No shit, Sherlock. Did it really take an entire episode of Coach Trip with the WHO on a coach to head over there and be told nothing for us to work that out? Yeah. Things in Texas, not great. Today, there's a story in The Independent saying frozen fish tank and icicles on a ceiling fan. Shocking photos of Texas winter storm. Now, what is this? Do we think this is freak weather or do we think this is climate change? I mean, the problem with climate change and all this sort of stuff is you have to wait for such a big period of time to be able to say with any conviction it is. But it does, I mean, I have to say, everything about this seems strange. Because I don't think of frosty weather and icicles in Texas. Does anyone else? Yeah, and look, the fourth trending news story, magnetic disaster that wipe out the Neanderthals is due a repeat. This is in the Times. This is the story I was talking about. You're right. I can't remember who said that the magnetic poles do shift. I don't think they completely shift north to south, otherwise we'd all be a bit skew-whiff. But they do move about. But yeah, so this idea at the moment that we are due a repeat of a magnetic disaster, let's just add it to the list, shall we? There's a thing called the atomic clock, which is kind of generated by great brain scientists and minds, and it puts the clock at sort of a certain position to midnight, to a sort of global cosmic midnight being total Armageddon and disaster. And I think we were at something like, I can't remember, it was something like 8 minutes to midnight before COVID. And we came out of COVID, I think, around the same. But add magnetic disaster to it, and we might all be hoping that helicopter flight on Mars is more successful sooner than we think. So yeah, I mean, and in terms of other news, there isn't an awful lot of other news knocking about. But I was trying to find... oh, look at this. Festival goers who use nasal spray avoided COVID infection. Could that be an opening of festivals? Oh, my God, the kids will be excited. And obviously cases in London. I mean, it keeps being printed as a news story. Of course, if cases weren't coming down as dramatically as the Evening Standard says, London coronavirus cases by borough revealed as infections down 90%. If they weren't coming down, we'd all be in a real state of panic. Of course they're coming down. We're vaccinated. It does make me chuckle the way they present these news stories sometimes. Max the Miracle Dog gets PDSA Order of Merit, Silkani. That's a nice and finally news story there. And the possibility of a nasal spray to help us get through the door at a really pumping nightclub. I think that's it. So it's Friday, guys. The Members Live will be tonight at 7. Obviously, we're shooting bits and bobs and finishing bits and bobs for the Sunday show. There will be a vlog landing today at home time. Again, it's sort of a compilation of weird, whacked out moments in the run up to now as we catch up with ourselves. Hit the thumbs up if you've enjoyed that. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and you'll get notifications when we're going live. What else is coming up? What else is coming up? That's it, I think. Nanny Di's back on Sunday. Me and Nanny Di, I think, will be reviewing the new Tom Hanks film, News of the World, for the popcorn junkies. And have a safe day. And head over, Confessions of a Modern Parent. It's a really interesting one, actually. All about ambition. Ambition for our kids. What would we do if our children didn't have ambition? Are we imposing ambition on them? Is it a more ambitious generation? What are your thoughts on that? So go and check it out. Have a lovely day, guys. Stay safe. And don't forget. Just don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget.